Hey everybody, I'm Curtis.
And I'm Hannah.
And this is Love at First Fright.
The boy is back in town. The boy is back in town. Scoobity boobity bop.
Boy is back in town.
Boy is back in town.
Oh, I was doing the backing part.
I was backing your backing.
Oh, just how many layers removed can we?
Beach Boyception.
Like 8 rows of backup.
This song, but every time they do the backup, it just keeps adding it.
It's like where they do the like the row your boat, but then they just keep
row,
but it
row,
never
row,
ends.
Row.
Anything weird happen while I was gone?
No, everything was fine.
Oh, okay, cool. It's fine.
Yeah, it all went well. I spoke to myself for, a while.
Yeah.
And
you got in here and did your grim work.
I did my work.
Yeah.
Put out the episode and everything was fine.
Yeah.
We didn't get sued.
Yet.
I didn't commit any crimes that you know of.
Well, any luck, I'll never know.
Exactly.
So we're good.
You won't. So it's fine.
Yeah.
It all worked out.
Yeah. Life happens. I got busy.
Yeah. He's a working man.
Yeah. Just like my hero, Jason Statham.
Oh. Oh yeah. Here, I was thinking of the movie Working Girl. So we were on different wavelengths.
Hey, great movie, though. Great movie. Inspired Bob from Bob's Burgers to do what he does.
I also always think of Bob's Burgers when I think of Working Girl.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best episodes.
It was good when we first started dating, and I had never really watched Bob's Burgers, but you introduced me to it. I think about this a lot because it's a nice memory for me, but you put on Bob's Burgers, specifically that episode, and then
one
knew
of my faves.
Not even just the singing parts, but you knew every word of the episode.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was good. It was fun.
I love Bob's Burgers. It's my comfort show.
Yeah, it's fun. But yeah, but I'm back.
Yep, you're here.
I'm back with a brand new look.
Yep, he got new glasses.
New glasses.
It's giving Elton John.
Hey.
Yeah. I like that.
I'm still standing.
The boy's still standing. And he's a working girl.
Hold me closer, Tony Danza. Count the headlights, there's a lot. Anyway, so I'll be portraying Elton John in Rocket Man 2.
Yes. And this is all... You can tell we're immediately back in the swing of things because none of this is out of the ordinary.
Yeah. This is pretty much normal, I think.
What we do.
This is kind of, just day in, day out. This is what we get up to.
Honestly, I feel like neither of us have that much to report because we've both just been...
I've just been so bogged down.
You've been super busy and my brain hasn't felt good in a while, so...
Yeah, so we've just been kind of coasting, I think.
Yeah, my life is kind of like that one really artfully directed scene in Twilight New Moon where Bella is real depressed, and that's signified by the camera rotating around her as the seasons change outside her window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, why didn't that get an Oscar? I'll never know.
That scene or you experiencing that?
No, that scene.
Oh, okay.
I can't get I'm not a movie.
You could get an Oscar.
I'm not a movie. My life isn't a movie.
You could go to any place that makes trophies and get an Oscar.
But it wouldn't be a Oscar.
No, it's an Oscar. It's not one of the Oscars. But
it would be lowercase Oscar.
Yeah. Or the massage place that we pass. Sometimes it's like a therapy place, and the guy who runs it, his name's, I guess, Tony Oscar. And every time we drive past it, I think it's just 2 awards.
I've never noticed this in
Oh,
my
you've
life.
never noticed this? I'll
Is
point
that
it out
where we
next
got
time.
that bit from a couple episodes back?
No.
When it was I'm Tony
No, I
from
wasn't.
the Oscars.
No, I wasn't thinking about it then. But maybe that did subtly influence. I don't know. But there's a massage therapy place or whatever in town, and there's a sign that says Tony Oscar.
Yeah, shout
which
out,
is
not a
hilarious
sponsor.
to me. But
not a sponsor, but we support small businesses.
I don't think the mic picked it up, but when you were talking about Twilight, I heard it, and I think Steve either did a little tiny sneeze or a little toot.
Oh,
it was just a little.
Steve is our tortoise, for those who don't remember. She's enjoying a bath right now.
Yeah, she's currently in the water dish, which means approximately halfway through this episode, she's going to try to get out.
Yeah, and it's going to be loud.
You're going to hear some icky thumps.
Icky thumps.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds like a British rocker. Oh, my name's Icky Thumps.
It's a song.
And I'm here to... What song is it?
It's from the White Stripes.
You're so right, man.
It's like a really well-known White Stripes song.
It totally is.
And I was just making some shit up.
I thought
you sat there and were like, this guy's such an idiot that he would come up with.
A fucking comedic genius. No one's ever said, no one's ever described a thump as icky before.
No one's ever put these ideas together before.
Because usually icky refers to a taste or a smell.
Yeah. Hey, you know that new sound you've been looking for?
Oi, it's me.
It's
Icky
me.
Thumps.
Icky Thumps, in it?
Icky Thumps.
Icky Thumps, governor.
If you're nasty.
If you're icky. So anyway, things are running as normal around here.
I feel drunk.
Neither.
I'm not.
And we're not drinking Gator wine, although
It's
perfect day
5 p.m.
for
on a
it.
Sunday.
Perfect day for Gator wine, but what day isn't? Am I right? They all said he's right, and you just
We'll add it in post.
Yeah, just chanting that gets louder as the episode goes on. But Gator wine, Gator wine. No, yeah. I mean that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's pretty
I've
much
kind
it.
of lost my sanity, I think.
Yeah,
so
and I've lost
I'm just
my
kind of.
No sanity, no sparkle.
Yeah.
Can't
We're
lose.
Running on fumes over here.
Yep.
We could just kind of get into it, I think.
Okay.
I don't have a clever.
Hold on, let me see if I've got one.
Oh no, nobody's ever put these two things together before.
It's a callback.
It's a callback to that joke, and also the movie we watched is kind of like putting
two things
together.
One of the things is a toy. The other of the things is a friendship.
No.
AI.
No.
What are the two things you're referring to?
I was gonna say it's like mixing. It's like mixing Child's Play with a robot.
Okay.
It's kind of like that.
Okay.
You know?
My bad.
Well, you said turned it into one of those shitty ads for like an AI girlfriend or whatever for people who are lonely.
Speaking of that, when I was looking at the we're talking about M3GAN.
M3GAN.
Fedora tip.
M3GAN.
M3GAN. But when I was looking at the Wikipedia page for M3GAN, I saw that there's supposed to be a spin-off called Soul Mate, but the A in mate is an 8.
Oh.
Mate.
Oh, I see.
And
like a TV show or a movie?
No, like another movie. And I'm guessing it's going to be that it's like the AI doll concept, but it's probably going to be like either like a sex thing or just like a companion, like a girlfriend simulator.
Maybe. It seems weird though, because they are doing M3GAN 2.0.
Yeah. I just saw that on the wiki. That might be unconfirmed or outdated, but it looks like it got
I feel like
up.
I saw that too.
Yeah.
At some point.
But
that gets picked up, but they cancel my fucking... I can't.
Were you about to talk about Pressure Cooker again?
No. No, although I could. No. I was going to talk about fucking Saw 11.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pissed.
I'm pissed about
that. I'm pissed.
Actually, I'm not even pissed. I'm just sort of filled with sorrow.
Yeah.
Can't even get mad about it.
It's kind of what I've been resigned to lately of it's a thing that I wanted to happen, so it's not going to happen.
This episode, I'm going to see how many things we say until someone fucking orders a wellness check to our house.
This episode's going to come out, and I am going to get a text message from one of my friends being like, you good?
Is everything okay at home?
Hey, great episode. You good?
Really loved the joke about the Beach Boys. Also,
hey, I'm 59 minutes in.
Are you safe right now?
I'm 59 minutes into this 10-hour episode. And it's,
do you have a plan?
The trend seems like it's going to keep going downhill.
Oh, man.
No, they were supposed to do Saw 11.
Yeah,
they're supposed to come out in September. It was going to be a nice birthday present for me.
Yeah.
And they canceled it.
They canceled it. But yet, M3GAN 2.0 is still coming.
Well, that's fine. Gross. But that's fine.
No, that's Soulmate.
Yeah, no, M3GAN 2.0 can come out. I'm not mad about that. I'm saying Soulmate, a weird spin-off of a thing that probably didn't need a spin-off, is going to be greenlit.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows?
Who knows?
Anyway,
let's get this back on track.
As if it was ever there.
Let's get it on the track.
Yeah.
M3GAN is a 2022 horror sci-fi film. It was directed by Gerard Johnstone, and it was written by, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce this person's name. I think it's Akela Cooper, and it's from a story that she co-wrote with James Wan, and she's also doing M3GAN 2.0. So that's fun. I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
And apparently that person also wrote Malignant, which I don't know if you ever saw.
No, but I've heard really good things about Malignant.
I really liked it.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that makes perfect sense because they have a very similar vibe of the just like weird camp that's like over the top. And it's funny, but it also is genuinely like weird and creepy and unsettling in other ways.
Yeah.
So she's got a style and I like that style.
Yeah.
But the little plot summary that I ripped whole cloth off of Google is M3GAN is a marvel of our artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that's programmed to be a child's greatest companion and a parent's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, a brilliant roboticist, M3GAN can listen, watch, and learn as it plays the role of friend, teacher, playmate, and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to give the girl a M3GAN prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Dun dun dun.
Yep.
The cast for this movie, we have the wonderful Allison Williams as Gemma. We have Violet McGraw as Katie. We have Ronnie Chiang as David. Amy Donald as the body of M3GAN and Jenna Davis as the voice of M3GAN, Brian Jordan Alvarez as Cole, and Jen Van Epps as Tess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Folks might, if you don't recognize her by name, Allison Williams was the lead in Get Out.
Yeah.
The girlfriend.
Yep.
I really like her.
Yeah, it was funny you were saying that, and I was looking it up because I was like, her face is so familiar. What do I know her from?
Yeah.
And it's exactly that.
Yep.
That was her feature film debut.
Yeah, and she was so great in that.
Yeah. So.
And then it's also funny, I had kind of forgotten that he was in this, because this was the second time I've watched this movie, and Brian Jordan Alvarez, who plays Cole, who's one of Gemma's, like, co-workers at the, you know, toy place.
Mm-hmm.
I knew him prior to this feature film because I followed him on TikTok, where he just made, like, funny content and did skits and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's always cool to see the crossover.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always neat.
Yeah. But anyway, that's kind of the meat and potatoes of M3GAN. Do you love Halloween? Have you ever wished there was another time to celebrate that fun and spooky time of year?
Well, now you can. HauntFest is a Halloween horror festival business that celebrates Halloween off-season.
Their next ghoulish affairs will be at Nightmare Dungeon in Greenville, South Carolina on December 13th through 15th, and at Terrapin Beer Company in Athens, Georgia on April 4th through 6th.
HauntFest events include all sorts of themed activities, such as hay rides, freak shows, fire breathing, live music, trivia, pumpkin painting, animal encounters, a haunted trail, and much more.
The festival also hosts an array of horror and Halloween-themed vendors, offering anything from tarot readings and antiques to original horror literature, macabre artwork, and jewelry.
Don't miss out on this opportunity. Get your pre-sale tickets today for only $20.
For ticket purchases, inquiries, and more info, please visit www.hauntfest.net and follow HauntFest on social media. We didn't end up watching this one together because our schedules didn't work out that way. But one thing I realized after the fact is that I at least watched the unrated version, which is different from the theatrical release.
I don't know which version I watched.
If you watched it on YouTube, it was probably also the unrated version.
Oh, sick.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
My parents can't tell me what to do. I watch whatever I want. They said, fuck, one extra time in this one.
Yeah, pretty much. It's basically like there's slightly more cursing, and then all of the deaths are more graphic. Whereas in the theatrical release, a lot of it was like set up and then cut away, but we saw it like all in the unrated version. So, like there's that one scene, for example, where it's M3GAN's like first human kill, where there's the kid at the like day camp thing that's bullying Katie and M3GAN, and then M3GAN ends up ripping his ear off because he's like holding her down. And in the theatrical version, they show the setup of her like grasping his ear, and then we get the like shot of it being thrown to the ground. But in the unrated version, it stays on it, and we watch the ear get torn off. So it's all like the plot is exactly the same, but it's just more gore, more blood, all that stuff.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Maybe they should just put it in the... I mean, I guess they were going for a certain rating, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
When did it come out? When it was released theatrically, what was the rating?
I'm guessing it must have been PG-13.
Must be.
But I don't...
It's a PG-13 movie, so I guess that's why they removed that stuff, is so they could hit
PG-13.
It actually makes sense. So I'm going to give it its flowers, but I'm also going to knock it a little bit. That this makes sense thinking about all of that, because we, I think pretty historically, don't like Blumhouse productions.
Sure,
because
it's
they
not my favorite.
Jason Blum did have his icky little fingers.
His icky thumps, if you will.
Yeah, all up in this one as well. But this is one of those getting more rare, I'll say.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely been fun stuff that's come out from
Blumhouse movies that, like, I think just hits really well. If you're hearing those thumps, that's Steve.
The icky thumps are Steve.
No, it does. I will say it does look like Steve somehow got out of the water dish pretty quietly, but now is trying to get back in it. So
and she's not good at that part.
She's not good at that.
Her legs are too short. And she does not have the right strategy.
No. Anyway. But I like the movie, but it makes sense that they were shooting for a PG-13, because I feel like a lot of the Blumhouse things, because they're trying to go for like a more mass appeal, and like if it's R-rated while like, you know, the horror adult fans are going to be like, yeah, we can go see that. But like a lot of people might be a little bit more uncomfortable with that. So they go for a PG-13 to get like the teen audience to have a wider spread net. And I think that is a misstep most of the time. Whereas they could just dial it.
Horror movie.
Yeah. Exactly. So anyway.
Well, and I mean, I kind of get it. I'll give them a pass this time, because normally it kind of honestly annoys me when movies like a good horror movie has to get edited down to be PG-13 and then it's not as good. I know I'm going to sound like kind of, you know, a weirdo for that opinion, but it's just...
Yeah.
There's so many examples where it's at the expense of a good movie.
Yeah.
But in this case, I think it makes sense because of the content. You have the age of like Katie and M3GAN and kind of the like the references and the language that they're using. Like, I think there was very much a shooting for a teen audience, like not just to fill seats, but because that is like part of who this
I think so. I agree.
So I can forgive them for that.
Yeah. And I think on this one it does,
version is pretty good.
Yeah, the unrated version is good. And again, like this is I think one of those movies that kind of goes to show like just because a horror movie is PG-13 doesn't mean it's bad necessarily.
Definitely.
It just, I think they tend to lean that way because of exactly what you said, where I think a lot of the content that they end up cutting out of the horror movie in order to make it PG-13 is the stuff that, like, generally speaking, when you're going to see a horror movie, you're going there to see.
Right.
So they cut it at the expense of the movie overall. Whereas this, I think it just makes sense. It doesn't really detract from it. The stuff that they cut out is just like cool little extras, but like the bulk of the story is the same, and it's a fun, cool story.
Yeah, and I liked it the first time I saw it, which was the theatrical version. Still very much enjoyed it. Yeah. So definitely it's a good example of both a Blumhouse movie, which we can be kind of, you know, anti-Blumhouse, and also a PG-13 horror movie. Yeah. And I think the reason that it's successful as a PG-13 horror movie is that this movie is campy and it knows that. And that's the point.
Yes. It, I think similarly to when we watched Hard Eyes, which is kind of campy. I mean, very campy in certain ways. That, like, it's not, I don't think it's enough to just be campy in some situations, but it's being campy, understanding where you are in that, like, on that spectrum, and then just, like, going full for it, you know? This movie, I don't know, there's, like, it's weird because there's, like, the robot thing they, like, set up, and it's creepy, but then they have there's the scene where, towards the climax of the film, where M3GAN, like, really pops off, where she's gonna, like, start, you know, killing everybody and everything, where they just have her, like, dancing down a hallway to, like, some pop music. But, like, the end result of that is she's literally, like, killing a dude with, like, a katana or something.
Right.
Like, it's crazy.
Well, it's the blade from a paper cutter.
Yeah, that's right.
But somehow it's so sharp that it acts as a machete.
Yeah. It's like, wild. But, like, and I don't know. They do so many, like, fun little things like that throughout the movie where, like, it is relatively horrifying, but then, like, they set up these, like, silly moments.
Right. And I think that's why, because I will admit that when this movie was still in marketing, I was not excited about this movie. And it's because, for whatever reason, at this point it's been too long, so I can't really assess whether it was the fault of whoever was putting together the marketing materials or if I was just jumping to conclusions. I couldn't say at this point. But I didn't get that it was self-aware and campy as a movie. I thought they were being straight-faced about it based on the promotional material. And so I wasn't excited for it. I was kind of like, oh, this is just going to be this kind of, like, bad plot light.
If I remember correctly, I think when the marketing was coming out for it, it was very, like, straight-laced. Up until they showed the scene, or at least part of it, and that was the only hint that it was even kind of going to be campy, and so it just felt really weird, because then we're like, oh, how is anyone going to be scared of this?
Yeah, and that was exactly how I felt about it, is I was like, okay, so it's not actually going to be scary. Yeah. But I remember, so I didn't go see this movie in theaters when it came out. I waited until it came to streaming to watch it. And I was very much pleasantly surprised because the vibe was totally different than what I had anticipated.
Yeah.
And if I had known that that was going to be the vibe, I probably would have gone and seen it in theaters. But I just assumed that I kind of wasn't the audience for it.
Yeah.
During the marketing.
Yeah.
Which is, my own missed opportunity.
Yeah. I'll be real. I felt like this was going to be an imaginary, which hadn't been created yet.
But it was that.
But that movie's a stinker.
Yes. And I thought this one would be a stinker too.
Yeah.
But I was wrong. And I'm glad to admit that I was wrong because it's actually a pretty fun movie.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. So earlier when I was like saying like it's like Child's Play but mixed with like a robot is because kind of that is what it is. It's almost the answer to like, well, what if Child's Play, the Chucky doll wasn't, knee high.
Right.
What if they were like more formidable, full child size? And then like they went through some pains to like explain why this android that they created would be like really bad if it like went off. Well, there's like a whole sequence in here where once they kind of sell the boss man on it, of this like promotional thing of like it's got a titanium skeleton
right,
and like it's constantly trying to like self-improve and learn stuff, so it's just like whatever. And
anyone who's ever seen anything science fiction is like, no,
we're making an indestructible robot that if anything goes wrong we literally can't stop it. Great.
Yeah. And there was also a point in there and it was in that same period of like they got the approval from David, who's the boss guy, but it wasn't launching yet, where they realized that they had, in their like rush to put this into production, they hadn't installed parental controls.
Yeah.
And so there wasn't a way for a parent to override what the child was saying to the doll in the event that the parent disagreed with it or needed it to stop. Like if the parent wanted to silence the doll or turn it off or limit the time or whatever, like they could not do that, which is a massive oversight.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the things that is like really funny to me, and it's kind of a trope of like the horror genre, but they do it pretty well in this movie, is the like pretty obvious signs that things are like not good or like going to be bad, but everyone can kind of conveniently is just like, not that big of a deal.
Yeah, whatever.
And in some movies that it like they do this whole plot point of like people being like not worried about it for the sake of like profits or whatever, which they have in the boss character. His name's David. He's kind of like, we just need to get this out kind of a thing.
Right.
Gemma is, as the movie goes on, becomes more and more concerned about it. But like as she's first trying to do it, like the first introduction to the android that we get is just this like strung up thing where that they put this weird face mask thing on, and one of the guys, I think Cole, the other scientist dude who's like working it, he's like, she's giving an impromptu tech demo of it because they get found out about it, and he says that he forgot to put a thing into the robot and it literally like melts in front of them, and like it's from that point onward where we start seeing like how like that gets overlooked, and then we forgot to put in parental controls and like this, that, the other, and like nobody's really concerned up until the moment that it's too late to really do anything about it.
Well, and it's funny because even Gemma, like she starts to suspect before anyone else that M3GAN might be involved in like hurting the neighbor's dog, hurting that kid, like all these things that the other people wouldn't have any context for. Like they wouldn't even know about any of that because the doll is living in her house with her and Katie. But she also is willing to overlook that because she assumes like her desired, I guess she just thinks it's just weird little hiccups and I can fix this.
It's like coding stuff. I just have to fix that.
Yeah, it's just minor issues where like parameters are slightly off. Yeah. And it's the classic example of, they were so concerned with if they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. That's like the whole
Which they do
whole
ask
journey.
at some point, basically, in this movie.
Yeah.
Where they're about to get to the whole crisis of, like, conscious thing about it.
Yeah.
Where one of the other characters is asking Gemma about, like, well, if you're, like, basically passing off all of these duties to M3GAN,
right,
then, like, what are you... like, how are you even really being a parent anymore?
Right.
And, like, what's the point?
Because that's supposed to be the appeal, is that it's not just a friend to the child, but you can also, like...
it can, like, teach them...
it can teach them things.
Yeah.
It can reinforce, like, desired behaviors. Like, there's a whole thing where Katie keeps forgetting to flush the toilet before she, like, leaves the bathroom. And so you see these, like, recurring shots of M3GAN being like... whoa, girl, before we leave, make sure you flush that toilet. And then, you know, it enforces that and she learns it.
Mm-hmm.
She seems like she's a little too old to be forgetting to flush the toilet. But what do I know?
Yeah.
I'm not a parent.
Yep.
It's
just not cool to flush, you know?
Yeah, it's just not cool.
She's got to do her tech decks.
The one thing that I really wanted to talk about, just from the perspective of someone who... like, is a social worker and has worked in mental health in the past, is Lydia, the fucking family therapist. She is the most wild depiction of a family therapist I have ever seen, including in Imaginary.
Well, and I think it's really funny because I don't have that perspective exactly, but I am noticing a trend in Blumhouse movies where they put in a child therapist
who has, like, no...
that I feel like, I don't know, gets found on Craigslist or something like that. Like, I don't do that. I've never done that job. And I feel like every single time I'm like, hey, that doesn't seem right.
That doesn't seem right. Yeah, it literally... the thing that got me is right off the bat, because, of course, the whole crux of this is that Katie's parents died, that Gemma is the sister of Katie's mom, so she becomes the guardian, whatever. And very early on, like, it's only been a few days since this happened. And, like, obviously Gemma didn't have the house set up for children because she didn't have children, but she's trying. Like, she's, you know, she's, like, unpacking stuff from the house and doing all these things. And the child therapist comes over and just immediately has the, like, bitchiest, judgiest attitude. And it's just like... oh, you don't have any toys for the child to play with?
You didn't go out and drop $500 immediately to get toys for this child that you just got?
Right. And anytime Gemma even, like, tries to do something, like she ends up... there's a whole scene where she has these, like, collectible toys that aren't really meant to be played with. They're her, you know... she just prizes these objects. But she ends up taking one down because she's feeling the pressure and the judgment, and so she plays with it with Katie, and she's trying to show her, like, what the toy can do and how it works, and the therapist is just immediately like, I think it's better if we let Katie lead. And it's like, I'm not saying you're wrong about that, but there's nothing, like, there's nothing evil about Gemma being like, oh, this is this toy that I have, and these are some of the things it can do.
Yeah, and, like, be careful with playing with it because, like, it's a valuable possession of mine.
These are normal things, and she's old enough to understand that. So, like, I don't... just right off the bat, and at the conclusion of that first day of observation... the therapist is immediately like, well, you know, the grandparents in Florida have said that they wouldn't mind being the guardian. So you're going to have to make some changes, little lady.
We're going to need to see some adjustments around here. And I'm like, what the fuck?
It's literally been 4 days.
Calm down.
Let's relax. We haven't even had an opportunity to, like, paint her bedroom yet. Like, it's going to be fine.
No, it's crazy.
Oh, man. But, yeah. And then that same therapist, later on, she kind of has, like, towards when M3GAN's behavior is starting to become a little bit spooky, but it hasn't crossed over into, like, everybody knows that she's dangerous yet. But there's, like, a therapy session where M3GAN is in the room and Katie starts crying, and M3GAN has a negative reaction towards the therapist because she's like, you made Katie cry. And then the therapist, like, has this whole conversation with Gemma about how, you know, are you sure that, you know, this doll attachment is okay and blah blah blah, and I'm like, you can't say shit, lady, because you were the one who immediately was like, if you're not perfect on the first try.
Yeah, she was basically sitting on the couch being like, won't let her play with valuable collectibles.
Right.
Child understands they are valuable collectibles. Woman kind of seems like a massive bee.
Right. And then when she tried to connect with her and give her this toy to meet her needs, then all this, and I know that the doll actually is murderous. You don't know that in this world.
Yeah, in the fiction of this world, you don't know that.
And so you're just immediately like, oh, so this is what you've been doing with her?
Yeah.
No. Okay, well, the courts are going to hear about this. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. But anyway, I hate that character. She's unhinged.
Therapists in Blumhouse movies are basically always the same in that I don't know that any of them actually have credentials.
They absolutely do not follow the code of ethics.
Whoever writes those characters, I think, had a bad experience.
I was going to say, those people drank the CPS or baby snatchers juice, and they're having a hard time untangling that as an adult.
And the therapist comes in and she fucking sucks.
And the therapist
She's
is like,
bad at her
total
job.
bitch.
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
And the kid and the mom are like totally in the right.
And the mom's like super cool.
But anyway, that character just it the parallel between that and Imaginary is a great call out, because they are the exact same.
Part of me needs to see whatever the next Blumhouse movie is that heavily features a child, because I'm pretty sure they're going to put a child therapist in it.
Yep.
However they can get, and if they do the same thing again, then it's just becoming like a Blumhouse trope
right.
to have a therapist and be bad.
Child therapist here. Anyway, but one thing I did want to talk about too is the deaths themselves, because I think we have a lot of fun, inventive deaths in this movie where like M3GAN is kind of she's not like a Michael Myers in that she has a certain plan and a certain weapon and a certain method. She's very much just like uses her environment to do her grim work.
Yeah.
And so it leads to some interesting fights and kills because she just picks up whatever is around. But she's also very conniving.
Yeah. Well, like the whole sequence where she kills David and then the assistant, right?
Yes.
Like, she kills them. It is kind of funny, the lead up to it.
Right, with the dancing and everything.
Yeah, and then when the assistant's kind of like sniveling and being like, why would you kill someone? Then she starts being like, oh, I didn't kill anyone, but you did. And then she basically explains in like a villain monologue about how she's going to stage it as a murder-suicide because
she already knows he was stealing company secrets and like has all this dirt on him and everything.
Yeah. And so like it's very it's very funny, but like she is conniving. There's a scene earlier with the dog that you mentioned where she has like taken a sample of the neighbor's voice to get to trick the dog into like coming over, and then she disposes of the dog.
Yeah, she kills the dog and like buries it, but it makes it seem like she doesn't leave any evidence of foul play. So then it just seems like the dog ran off to kind of protect, you know, her own image or whatever.
One of the only careless ones is when she kills the one kid, the bully kid, because she throws the ear.
Yeah. Well, she gets more reckless as it goes along, because with that one, she kind of tried to stage it. Like she did throw the ear, but then she did the whole thing where she ran him in front of the car so that at first glance, it just seems like an accident.
Yeah.
But then with each kill, she's getting more and more, you know, just kind of willy-nilly with it. Because when she kills the neighbor, who was the dog's owner, that one also didn't really have a good story behind it. Like it's very clear that it was a murder. doesn't necessarily mean that people are going to know it was the doll.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Because who would?
Yeah. But it's not like she doesn't make it look like a suicide or an accident or something like that. It's straight up like she nail guns her hand to the ground and then power washes her flesh off or something. I don't really know what happened there.
Yeah.
But certainly not an accident.
Oh, it's the chemicals.
Oh, yeah.
From her property or whatever. This movie sets up a lot of like callback stuff to be used later, which is fun and inventive.
Right.
I get inventive, maybe not the right word. Every movie
fun.
Does that, but yeah, it is fun because
it's satisfying to have those things come back around.
Yeah. I think one of my favorite. I feel like it's kind of an homage. It's kind of a reference to Alien when they have the kind of the climactic fight with M3GAN where they have the robot thing.
Bruce, whatever his name was.
And Katie's controlling it to do it. It's like this big, robot thing to get away from her.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing, which I think is cool. But
that whole thing was fun.
They set up at like near the beginning of the movie what Bruce is, and that he can only be controlled by a person. So
right.
They also do a fun, I think, role reversal a little bit where like it's not Gemma saving Katie. I mean, they kind of go back and forth, but like where Katie kind of saves Gemma from certain demise, and then they kind of like tag team to finally take her down. And I think that was
necessary because really the whole movie is about their relationship.
Yeah.
And you have this transformation over time where Gemma starts out kind of like uncertain and also slightly uninterested in like being a parent to a point where she is interested, is concerned, is invested, but she's lost control of the situation because of M3GAN. And that has caused them to have this friction where Katie doesn't look at Gemma as a guardian anymore.
Yeah.
But we needed to have that realization that, oh shit, M3GAN's actually bad. Like she's going around and hurting people that I care about. And I want Gemma to be okay,
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was really fun. And of course, they do leave a little like cliffhanger that suggested that a M3GAN 2.0 was possible because at the very end, after, Gemma and Katie work together and defeat M3GAN, seemingly, they, walk outside and we see the police sirens and they're like, oh, finally, we're safe. And then a little, like, piece of tech in the house, its light turns on and it, like, turns and looks at the camera, suggesting that maybe M3GAN is still alive, but just, like, in the systems.
See, that's what I think they're setting up for a sequel, because they demonstrated at several points in this one that she has kind of infiltrated to the systems. There's a point where she's pretending to be, like, Gemma's like home automation assistant system or whatever, and she asks if she's doing okay.
Yep.
And then Gemma clocks, she's like, you're not programmed to ask me that. And then M3GAN shows up in a creepy way. And then later when M3GAN's supposed to be deactivated and she's like in the office building all strung up and everything, she's intercepted a phone call,
right?
So that Gemma thinks she's talking to somebody, but those people aren't even aware that the phone call's happening, kind of a thing.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's I'm guessing that that's what they're gonna do, is that it's gonna be she's gotten into like big computer TM and is now a problem on a larger scale.
An army of M3GANs.
Maybe. Mayhaps.
With an even stronger titanium
it's
skeleton.
Super titanium. Yeah. You wouldn't get it.
Did you have a scariest moment?
Yeah. I think for me, probably the scariest moment was I liked the confrontation between M3GAN and Gemma before the final showdown, where they're in the dining room kind of having that tense conversation with one another. Fun. And then in the, right in the other room, Katie opens the door and Gemma is like, tell her to make her go back to bed or I'll rip your fucking head off, basically. And that whole dialogue between them where so clearly Gemma has like no power in the situation, I thought was really spooky and very well done.
Yeah.
I that's when I really saw M3GAN as a villain.
Yeah.
And not just like coding gone haywire.
Sure, yeah.
Because you could interpret a lot of what she does up until that night as just being, oh, she has this directive to protect Katie, and that's gone too far, and that's not really her fault.
Yeah.
But there's a level of, like, cruelty that's going on in that conversation between M3GAN and Gemma that, to me, suggests actual, like, malicious intent.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And not just...
Yeah. I don't know when exactly it happens, but there is, I think, a point
There's a
where...
point where it switches.
Yeah, where she's, like, kind of becomes sentient.
Yeah, she's fully realized, and she wants to do evil things.
Yeah. Well, because there's, like... I think it's during that same conversation, because I think that's when the whole, like... She's pretending to be the voice assistant thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. Where Gemma asks... M3GAN if she hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And M3GAN goes, well, I sure hope not. Otherwise,
we'd both be in a lot of trouble.
So she realizes that, like, you know, while she may end up getting destroyed or whatever, that Gemma would also, she's instilling the fear in Gemma that, like, you created me and ultimately would be responsible. Right. So you would also face some kind of punishment.
So you can't take this outside of this room because we're in it together, essentially.
Right. I think that's great. For me, I think, I don't know if it's the scariest moment. I do really like the scene where she kills the bully kid.
Yeah.
I think it's just a fun scene.
Yeah.
It also takes, like, I don't know. Like, there's some kind of logical leaps you have to take here to, like, buy into this. Because, like, we're well into the period where, like, David has bought into this whole thing. But he's like, we have to keep this under wraps and nobody can know about it. So no leaks kind of a thing. But then Gemma is taking Katie to this, like, day camp thing. And because Katie's so attached to M3GAN, brings M3GAN along. But, like, when Katie has to get out and go to the thing... Katie's like, I want to bring M3GAN, and Gemma makes this compromise of, like, okay, you can take her out, but she has to go.
She has to stay on the toy table.
The toy table, and as far as anyone's concerned, she's a doll, and that's it. Mm-hmm. But, like, I don't know, just the director of the day camp is, like, standing right next to Gemma, and M3GAN says something, and she's like, oh, that is seriously cool. And I'm like...
So you've already leaked it
Like,
now.
a technological marvel. Like, everything else set aside, this thing would be incredible if real. You are just letting random people see.
Right, so we're okay with Shannon.
Yeah, right, like, that's fine.
Secret.
Yeah. I just think it's kind of silly.
Yeah.
And then also that she's, like, so distracted by this one woman talking at her about whatever, about her shit saying kid.
Yeah.
That she somehow takes her eye off of M3GAN long enough for her to, like, run off, even though she is concerned by this point that something's up.
Yeah. She already has had some suspicion that M3GAN may be up to no good.
To the point of, as soon as she hears, I think, Katie yell out for her, she immediately looks over at the toy table to be like, is M3GAN there? And she's not.
Right.
So, like, if you're that concerned about it, you know what I mean?
Yep. No, totally. One thing that I really like about that scene where she's killing the bully, to me, this is where, like, some of the camp in the kills, like, really starts, because M3GAN is doing things that are completely ridiculous. Like, her running down on all fours as if that would make a bipedal creature faster.
Right.
Is absolutely insane, but they do it because it's weird and it's funny, but it's also, like, slightly disturbing.
Yeah, it's
you're
kind
like,
of unhinged.
why is she running like a freaking animal? That? Like, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
Imagine being that kid, though.
Oh, that kid wet himself. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And low-key kind of deserved it.
Oh yeah, he was a piece of shit.
He was being a shithead.
He picks up this whatever the spiky thing is, and he's gonna give it to Katie, and then Katie goes to grab it.
That's not bullying. That's like assault.
Yeah, that's just straight up assaulting.
Yeah, I mean, not that like bullying is okay, but like,
no, bullying is cool. As long as you don't assault people, you can bully all you want.
Bullying is cool as long as like it's funny.
Yeah,
you know, like if everyone else is like, haha, this is funny, then bullying is fine.
Yeah.
My credentials, I'm a family therapist.
I'm a family therapist in a Blumhouse movie.
In a Blumhouse movie. Oh my god. Yeah.
Let's go ahead and rate this thing.
Okay.
I gave it its highest marks in entertainment, and then followed by the performances and vision, because I think it's a fun movie. Yeah. Everyone acts in it pretty well.
My highest categories were entertainment and vision. Yeah. My lowest category was scares. I will say the unrated version does help with that a little bit. But to me, it's just not a particularly scary movie. Yeah. I think because of it being a campy, almost kind of a black comedy, it's harder for it to legitimately be scary. Yeah. But that doesn't mean it's not good and that it isn't successful as a horror movie. It is like suspenseful. Yeah. It's just not scary.
To me, it's in the same vein as Child's Play. Like, I don't think Child's Play is like super scary or anything like that. But like, that's not to say that it's not.
There's good tension. And like there's still things to like about it. Yeah. It's just you're not going to be having nightmares about M3GAN. Yeah. Unless you've already got some weird...
Yeah. You'll probably laugh more at it than you'll be like, ugh. Yeah. Unless you watch the unrated version.
Because it's a little graphic, the unrated version.
But anyway, it resulted in my average score being a 7.3.
And mine being a straight across 7.
Which gives us a 7.2, which feels pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. I think that feels on the money to me. I think the fact that it owns its silliness is the key to its success. And I love that about this screenwriter. I think their movies are successful because they thread that needle really well. Yeah. So I'm curious to see what else they do. And hopefully M3GAN 2.0 is successful as well. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, this is just a wild guess because I don't know that much about the concept yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if M3GAN 2.0 leans more into action because I have a feeling that it's going to exist on like a broader scale.
I think so.
And so I think there's probably going to be the trope of like, oh, we got to like call in the National Guard or whatever to deal with this.
Yeah. It might lean more action horror comedy.
Action horror kind of thing. Yeah. Which is fine. It's just, again, I don't anticipate it's going to genuinely scare me, especially if it goes that route. Yeah. Because I think that I'm willing to be challenged on this, but in general, I think that good horror that actually is very, very, very scary requires a level of like isolation and so that you have that sense of helplessness. And as soon as you have like tanks, you don't have that feeling anymore. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. But if people have examples, I would be willing to eat my words on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think even in like most things that are like, I think probably the best example of this style of thing are like zombie movies, right? Where the outbreak happens and then like there's a military presence to it, that like part of the horror of any of those that makes them successful is not like, yes, the military's there, but like we're usually focused on like one person's story within all of that, and the military is like at best a neutral entity, and at worst they're like also bad because they'll just kill you because they're not gonna look at whether or not you're infected.
Or it's like something like Night of the Living Dead, where the military presence, quote unquote, law enforcement presence, was something that came in at the end to kind of save the day, but we had all of that lead up of them being vulnerable and helpless and alone. Then that was 99% of the movie.
Yeah. And anything that like revolves around a group usually is having that group get whittled down as the movie goes on. Right. So like I think that's what generally makes them successful. And yeah, I don't think it's soon as you have like a major part of the movie being like a dude rolling around in a tank or
right,
some military general, I think it's gonna heighten if they go this route, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna heighten the like silly campiness
Definitely.
of it, but I don't think it's gonna increase the level of scare, the fear.
Yeah.
It actually may hinder that and make it seem less scary,
right?
But who knows?
Which is fine because I'm still down to watch it because I like the concept.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of what I anticipate. I mean, I think it's kind of the same with like horror games too. Like in general, a game when you have a weapon automatically feels less scary than a game where you're defenseless, and your only option is to hide, or you have extremely limited ways to defend yourself, because you get that sense of like, oh shit, I have to watch every single thing I do versus, well, if anything jumps out of that closet over there, I'll just shoot it to death, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was playing is like one of those backrooms games or whatever, and there was a point in it, like up to this point, things were like kind of scary. There were some moments that they started scary and then they just got frustrating because it wasn't clear how you were supposed to get past stuff.
Sure.
And then, you keep seeing the same thing over and over, so it loses it being scary. You just want to get past it. But there was a point where, like, we had encountered a new thing, and we were like, oh, this is scary. And then one of us realized that if you use a flashlight, it, like, stuns the thing and makes it run away. And then it'll try to come back at you. But every time you hit it with a flashlight, it'll go away. And there was no battery on the flashlight.
Yeah.
There was nothing. So it was essentially as though they gave me a gun. And I distinctly remember when we realized this happened, and it might have been me that realized it happened, where I was like, oh, they fucked up. They gave me a weapon now.
Yep.
Because as soon as that happened and I realized, I was like, I'm not scared of this thing anymore.
Nope.
It's just about looking around, and that's it, you know? And not to say that those games can't be fun or successful or whatever in movies, same thing.
Sure.
But it's like you and I playing Resident Evil 5 and 6 or whatever, where they're horror in that, there's weird stuff going on, but like it's definitely an action game where it's like
I've got a machine gun and
my buddy's
out of
here.
A helicopter.
Yeah, we're both on the back
missiles.
of a military Humvee with miniguns, just absolutely blasting away with infinite ammo.
Right. It's way less scary than something like Resi 7.
Yeah, where you're one guy
with like a knife.
Yeah, and you got your foot and hand cut off.
Yes. Man, he really went through it, didn't
and then
he?
You put magic juice on there and it heals that right back up. Good games.
Exactly. I did forget, looking at my chart here, to fill out the horniometer for M3GAN.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a lot of kid stuff, so I would say, like, negative horny.
Yeah. Yeah. We don't have to put that in there. This is going to be exempt.
It doesn't need to have a horniometer rating. Yeah. Honestly, it's not horny at all.
No. There was one scene where David asked the assistant guy, because the assistant is, like, downloading company files to like send him, and he walks up on him and he like slams his laptop closed, and David's like, were you Pornhubbing in the office again? And the guy was like, no, which is so funny of a response, because in that moment it confirms for the audience that he has done this before, he was caught before. And that he seems like the kind of guy that would keep doing it.
Yep. Man.
It was pretty
also,
good.
How do you not get fired? Like, I know that Pornhubbing is better than stealing company secrets.
Is it?
But, like, you can't be watching porn in the office.
No. You can watch it. You should be able to watch a little porn in the office.
It should be zero porn. Maybe if you have your own office...
Yeah.
You can get away with it.
Yeah.
But if you're an assistant and you're in like one of those open air offices, zero.
It was really funny because when he asked him that, it's like they're like in a hallway and he's just at a random table that's in this hallway when he walks up on him. So
like a thoroughfare
kind of
the
insane
company.
Place to be doing that if he was, which he wasn't.
He was stealing company secrets.
Yes. That was open in another tab.
Yeah. He paused his video.
And he was like, oh, I gotta steal those secrets real quick.
Put your tits away.
Yeah. Put your clothes back on. I'm gonna tell you how I'm gonna steal these company secrets.
Exactly.
Anyway.
All right. You got anything else?
No, I think that's it
All right.
for this one.
Well, in that case, we'll start wrapping it up. If you have any feedback or movie suggestions for us, be sure to reach out to us on social media. We are at First Fright Pod on Instagram and X. We also have a Facebook page called Love at First Fright, or you can email us. It's firstfrightpod@gmail.com. We always love hearing from you. Or if you know us personally, I don't know, track us down.
No, don't do that.
Put a bug in our... No, I was going to say put a bug in our ear, but I mean that in the metaphorical way.
Yeah.
I mean it in the figurative way. If you put a bug in my ear, we're not friends.
No.
Yeah. Other than that, we will be back in another 2 weeks with another movie for you all to enjoy. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Cool. Well, as always, scare well, and see you next time.
Goodbye. I am an android.
The best androids always say at the end of a statement, I am an android.
That's right.
Because they don't want any confusion. Because they're so real that people might think they're like a real person, but they need to let you know that they're an android.
Warning, I am a robot.
Okay, good. Because I was freaked out. I thought you were the real Hannah.